Well, my pretties, it's the Lion Queen here, so I thought I would go ahead and, you know, the night I'm recording this, it's pretty much I'm gonna be going to bed, but I thought, I do this little video like recording before I go to bed. Now, the time I upload this, it's gonna be sometime in morning or afternoon, whenever I get this up at. But I kind of wanted to do my thoughts on something called the horror community. I'm in a couple of channels that fan bases that have do horror stuff. Now, when I mean by the horror community, I mean like people that do horror stories on their channels, horror related stuff. I mean, it's a pretty popular thing when it comes to, well, the horror community is, horror stories. Like, people will say, this happened to me, 4 or 5 years ago, and I got spooked by, or something happened to me when I never will forget about it, or something. Now, I came across the horror community through Mr. Nightmare, I believe back in 2016 or 2017, and I've been a fan of him since then. And although I don't really comment much on Mr. Nightmare stuff, but I do comment on his stuff every now and then. So I'm in some fan bases and even some communities that are the horror related of the horror community. Now, it's not really similar to the creepypasta community because the creepypasta community, you basically just tell like a fake story, whatever it be a lost episode or something like that. Pretty much it's kind of similar to the horror community, except there are a few differences. Like, for one thing, it's not containing, lost episodes or anything like that. And creepypastas are made to be scary, although, that's just for a different topic. But with the horror community, they basically have horror stories that happen to people, like actual real horror stories that actually happen to people. Although there are a couple ones that are not true and that are fake. Some of them are pretty much made up, but others that are, not made up or anything are actually real. Like, people actually wrote these horror stories, or they this actually happened to them and they write their story about their experience. Like, it could be, for example, they were stalked by someone or anything like that. Now, when I actually joined some of the horror community channels like Mr. Nightmare, Nightmare Files, and a few others. I mean, there is a couple others that I'm sub to. Now, I could say their fan base is not toxic. Like, I mean, a couple of the horror narrators that I've been sub to, their fan base is decent. They're not really toxic or anything, as far as I know. I guess it really depends on the person, I guess, if you want to put it that way. I guess it depends on the person in that. Like, Mr. Nightmare has got like a huge fan base. I mean, it's pretty obvious because he's got like couple millions of subs, and I honestly am surprised that has that many subs. Now, Mr. Nightmare used to do creepypastas back in the day, and I think there's a couple videos where people have archived his narrations of some of the creepypastas they enjoyed, and even some other videos. But Mr. Nightmare unfortunately doesn't do creepypastas anymore. He did say he almost got sued over a Chuck E. Cheese creepypasta, which I think it's pretty dumb in my opinion. But and I guess Mr. Nightmare doesn't find creepypastas to be fun anymore, so that's why he's into horror stories, because they're actually entertaining. Well, I can say horror stories are pretty entertaining, especially if they actually happen to people in that. Although there are some stories that are made up and they're just basically fake or something. I mean, very few of them happen to be that case, but most of them are pretty real. And when I actually watch Mr. Nightmare's videos, I actually really enjoy his horror stories because horror stories in the horror community are actually interesting and they're actually, decent. They're not, crap or anything like that. Not like the creepypastas, especially the lost episode ones cuz even those ones are getting repetitive nowadays. But however, with the horror community, the horror stories that people write actually are true. Well, most of them are. There are some instances that they're not real or the person just made it up or something. Somewhere down those lines. Now, granted, I have done a couple horror stories or more on my backup channel. I'm actually trying to do some creepypastas here and there just to you know, um, kind of expand a little bit, if that makes any sense. I'm also trying to be more consistent with uploads on my backup channel, like upload at least a few times a week, like 2 to 3 times a week, depending on if I'm busy or not on my backup channel. So, anyways, when it comes to interacting with some of the people there, some of them actually are pretty decent with me, and most of them seem to be decent and nice to me. Now, some of them I have known for a few years, some of them I've met them this year or last year, whatever. A couple horror narrators that I've been sub to, I've known them for a while now. I know there's this user by the name of Lighthouse Horror. I know he makes pretty good narrations and that. And I have watched a couple of his narrations as well as Mr. Nightmare's Nightmare Files, Original Jensen, Let's Read, Unit 5. I think it's 552 or is it 52? I can't remember, but that Unit's person, yeah, he was pretty cool. Now, unfortunately, there are some downfalls when it comes to the horror community. Like, some of the horror channels have gotten demonetized due to reused content, which I think it was kind of BS at that point. Like, some of the horror narrators had issues with, the monetization, crap. Now, I don't really care for monetization. I mean, just because I have, ads enabled and all that on my channel, which is this one, but I personally just do that for fun. I mean, I'm not doing YouTube for money or anything like that because I don't want people to say, "Oh, this person's doing it for money, they're greedy." Like, no, I'm not doing this for money. I'm only doing it for fun. And I'm also in doing this to interact with other people and meeting them cuz yeah. However, there are going to be some not so great people. Like, I remember there was this one horror narrator that did some very messed up stuff. I can't really remember exactly what went down. I think in 2020 there was some drama with this one horror narrator with, I guess, a few others of his fan base or something. But he did go by the name of Fearcrawler. And unfortunately, he doesn't have YouTube anymore. At least from the last time I looked, he didn't have YouTube anymore. So I don't know if he deleted his channel or if it's still there, but he's got no uploads or something. I don't really know, to be honest, because I wasn't really into that situation, but I kind of heard about it from a couple horror narrators that have talked about it, and I think one person made a video stating some of it. But if anyone knows about the fear crawler thing of what happened back in 2020 or something, I guess you guys can let me know in the comments below. I mean, if you do know about it, like I said, I do know a couple horror narrators. I know Swamp Dweller is a pretty awesome one. And I gotta really say, I came across with a couple of these horror narrators for a while. Some of them were from other people's channels that I've came across. Like Corpse Husband, he used to do horror stories years ago, but Unfortunately, I don't really know what happened or anything, but Corpse Husband, from what I do remember, is he had some medical issues and he's no longer doing horror narrations. It kind of really brings me down a bit because he was really amazing. Like he did a lot of great stuff back then with horror stories and that, like Mr. Nightmare. He and Mr. Nightmare actually did, I think, a few videos together. I'm not too sure. I will have to see. I mean, maybe someone can let me know in the comments because I kind of forgot about it, but yet again, I'm not really too sure because, I do pop by in the horror community on some channels, see how everyone's doing, say, hey, awesome job, or hey, how are you doing? You know, basically stuff along those lines. However, I'm gonna be fair when it comes to this, is when I watch some horror narrators, I honestly, that's got me inspired to make some horror stories of my own. Like, I wrote a few of them from my backup channel known as Evil Maleficent. I mean, most of you guys I do know are subbed to that one. But I mean, if you're not subbed to that one, then I recommend you go subscribe to that one. It's on my about page. If you look on my about page of my main account, which is this one, you will see I have a backup channel. And I recommend you guys go and subscribe to my backup channel if you're interested in horror stories. I am doing creepypastas there, but I don't do reviews for them because I want to save that for my main channel unless something ever happens to it and I have to move to my backup. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, what I'm just saying what because you never know what could happen in like a couple years from now or something like that. So, with the horror community, I mean, it's a decent community. I mean, there's just some people that can be toxic. So, whatever toxicity is going on in certain horror communities, like what if doesn't matter what channel no it's on or taking place or whatever is going on. I try my best not to get into it and I just ignore it. I simply just don't want involvement in it. However, I am sub to a couple of them actually. Like, I do know for a fact that a few of them actually sub to me. Like, I remember, I think her name was, Lady Spookera. I remember she subbed to me at one point, and she is from Australia. So, yeah, I know it's probably, daytime when it's nighttime over here, but yeah. If Lady Spookera is watching this, I want to say she is pretty much one of my inspirations to get into horror stuff. I mean, I've been into horror for a while, but she was kind of one of my main inspirations because before then I just didn't know what to do on my backup. But yeah, she along with Mr. Nightmare, Nightmare Files, and a couple other horror narrators actually got me inspired to do them and to get me into horror communities. So, Lady Spookera's community is pretty decent. It's not perfect, no, but it's definitely a decent one. I mean, no one's getting attacked, nobody's being, assholes or anything like that. And she does have a couple rules on when it comes to her live streams, and I think they're very valid rules like no harassing, no spamming and stuff. I mean, those are just pretty much common rules, but most of them seem to follow. But I also do know for a fact that, you know, I don't watch some horror community, some videos from some people in the horror communities on live streams. It's either I don't get notified by them, I watch them but just don't comment, or I just or I'm just busy with other things. But I do try and pop on whenever I can, just see how everybody's doing. overall, the whole horror community, I could definitely say there are some toxic sides to it. Well, I mean, it's pretty much there for every community. There is a toxic side, but the horror community, I definitely could say, does have some improvement than the creepypasta community, and that's just me being fair. But it's me being honest, because some of the creepypasta communities that I've been in and all that have gotten a bit really haywire, if that makes any sense, like gone crazy. Now, I'm not going to go into detail into what creepypasta communities I left and all, because it's not appropriate for this video, because this is me explaining the horror community. Now, overall, I think the horror community is pretty nice. I mean, we've got nice people. Some people can be, kind of rude. I guess some people can be rude, and others can be, quite decent. But that's just here or there. I guess that's just all I can really say about the horror community. I mean, I actually like the community itself, but the only things I don't like are, like, the toxic sides, the not so nice people, and etc. But other than that, it's actually a pretty decent community. I'm in a couple communities, horror communities, and some Discord servers and that, and I've been talking to them, and some of them are actually pretty nice. Most of them I've met are actually pretty nice. So, yeah. I could definitely say if you're into horror, I recommend you actually you know, check out, Mr. Nightmare, Corpse Husband, and a few others. But like I said, if you don't like anything horror related, that's fine. That's your opinion. But this is just me stating my own opinions on the horror community. Because I've been meaning to, make a video, basically stating my opinion on it for a while. And I finally do have the opportunity. I don't know when I'll be doing more of these discussion videos, but I'll try and do them whenever I feel like them. Or whenever I have something to talk about, and I don't mind speaking out my own mind on something. But like I said, overall, this is just my opinion and thoughts on the horror community. You guys can state your own personal opinions in the comments below. And yeah, anyways, with that being said, um, I'm the Lion Queen. I want to thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be new on my channel, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell to notifications to when I upload in case if you're brand new here. Also, I want to thank you so much for the support you guys have been giving me. We're doing pretty well with subs and that. So anyways, I'm going to be sitting here and say, roll the outro because I'm out of here. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye bye, everyone. And I'll see you all next time.